No more uploading resumes, no more writing cover letters anymore, no more correcting mistakes made by these shitty text recognition systems trying to pipe in the contents from your resume into the form fields, no more filling form fields anymore, no more time-wasting redundant screening interviews with HR where they ask you the same few questions about your job experience, your notice period, and your future salary expectations. None of that. Woohoo! Just click apply, and all the information will be piped in from the central government database to your future prospective employer, who will send you an invite if they're impressed by your credentials for a direct first interview with a prospective hiring manager. Woohoo! What a time saver! Today I wanted to tell you guys a horror story. Imagine a world where you never had to apply for a single job again for the rest of your life. It's not because you didn't have to work again for the rest of your life. No, sir. You still have to be working at a job. You still have to apply for new jobs whenever you got sick and tired of your current one. It's just that things would be drastically different from how things are done today in terms of job applications. So imagine a world where when you wanted to apply for a new job, the way that you go about doing that is that you would go to the website of the company that you wanted to work in, or even maybe not even a website. You would just go to the central job app created by the government of the country that you live in. And they have all the job listings on said government job app for whatever jobs, private sector, public sector, all the sectors, small businesses, large businesses, big corporations. All the jobs would be on there. And what you have to do over here is you just log in using your government digital ID to a profile that's already set up for you. And you would just go to the jobs that you wanted to apply for and just click apply. And when you click apply, all you have to do right now is just sit back and relax, wait for that interview invite to come in for the first round with a hiring manager. That is, if they want to interview you. How convenient would that be? Because everything now would be tied into that centralized database. You already file taxes every year, so the government already knows how much you make. So they're piping that information now over to the job board, who pipes that over to the company that you want to work for. No more salary negotiations on how much do you earn right now, how much do you want to earn in the future. No more salary negotiations. Government already knows, the future company already knows, and they'll make you an offer based on what you currently earn. No more 20, 30, 50% jumps. You'll be offered more reasonable jumps now that are capped at maybe, 5, 10%, whatever the number that they deem reasonable might be. No more having to fill in the jobs that you worked in the past, because again, the government and the companies that you want to work for already know that as well. It's all in a centralized database. You have your digital resume available to those people, and that's why you can just go ahead and click that apply button and sit back. Nothing else you need to do. They would probably also know the number of days off that you've taken, just because the government will probably collect that information from companies that you've worked for in the past. And they also have information about the sick days that you've taken off as well, because everything in the medical system is also digitalized to the point where everything's piped into the government healthcare app, and you wouldn't have to report that to the companies ever again. They would already know. So if you're trying to escape that toxic ass job that you're currently working at because it's still April and you want to just wipe out all the sick days that you have with that company, because you know you'll start afresh when you jump to that next company next month, in the month of May. Well, in the next company in the future, they might just already know that information. Hey, this guy's taken all his sick days off at his previous company that he worked from January to April of 2025. Well, he's not going to get any sick days for the rest of this year with us. Even though we're a completely different company from that one that he just left. Nah, it says right here in the government system, he's taken his maximum 14 days sick leave that he's entitled to. And that's it for the rest of the year. He can take another 14 days off in 2026. And he still needs to work this entire year, even if he falls sick. How would you like that kind of system being part of your life? It wasn't too long ago when I was actually still applying for jobs and interviewing with different companies. And I got this one interview with this interesting person who worked in HR in the GovTech division of the government of Singapore. So there's no way I can verify whatever this person said is true or not, but that's what I heard from this HR minion who worked in GovTech. She said that one of the things that the government in Singapore wants to work on is a digital resume system, quote unquote. And the way that she described it was not too dissimilar from the imagination horror story that I just made up in the first 3 minutes of this video, because she said something along the lines of they would be able to have a digital resume that pulled the companies that you worked for in the past. They will also be able to tap into the tax system to know how much income tax you paid into the system, so they would also know how much you made. And I don't know if whatever this person said was true or not, because I've interacted a lot with HR of all sorts in public and private sector in the past, and some of them just like to flex a little bit, like they're more important than they actually are. So I don't know how much information a person in HR in GovTech in the government of Singapore would know about whatever is being done in the product development and the software engineering side of the house. But this is what that person told me. Now, I'm not here to judge whether this is true or not, but based on the things that I know from having lived in Singapore for a while, I am inclined to believe that even if this isn't like the 100% description of what it really is, or it's just an idea, I'm inclined to believe that such a system could exist in the future just because of the way that things are done. Like, for example, in Singapore, they have this saying where you shouldn't commit any crimes because they have CCTVs everywhere and you can get caught extremely easily. You can't get away with murder, you can't get away with robbery, you can't get away with carjacking someone's car, because they would be able to trace the shit out of you and capture you at the end of the day, right? In a very, very rapid manner, because they have so much CCTV, they have surveillance everywhere. They know everything. They probably track your phones and their locations as well. So it is not out of the realm of possibility that we could see something happen in some country in the future. And if I was a betting man, I would bet on that country being Singapore. This is the same country which has mandatory 2 years military conscription for all young men who is a citizen or permanent resident of Singapore at the age of 18 or 19. I remember even 20, 30 years ago, when things were not really digital yet, there was already word that you shouldn't skip your national service in Singapore, because the minute you leave the country and you go back into Singapore, their immigration system, surveillance system was so advanced that they would be able to identify the people who are deserters instantly, and they'll be caught right at the airport. This was 20, 30 years ago. Imagine how it is right now. And I can say for certain as well that that system hasn't changed. In fact, it's gotten more aggressive. Like, for example, 5 years ago when the coronavirus was going around, I don't know if that term is still flagged by YouTube, but when that was still going around and they were starting to mandate the thing in your body, the government of Singapore will also be able to track and verify whether or not you were unvaccinated or not. And they would stop you right there and then at the border if you were unvaccinated, because they required you to be vaccinated to do basically almost everything in life. Everywhere from eating in a restaurant, eating in a hawker center, going into malls, going into entertainment centers like theme parks, cinemas. The number of places, you couldn't even go to your own workplace if you were unvaccinated. So the number of places that you could go to was drastically shorter than the number of places that you couldn't go to if you didn't want to get the thing, or if you didn't want to stay up to date. So even if you got the 2 initially, if you didn't get the 3rd past a certain date, you would now be considered unvaxxed, and you would not be able to go into your workplace anymore. No malls, no restaurants, whatever. The only places that you could go to were really public transport and hospitals. And of course, just walking on the roadside outside. Those were the 3 places that you could go to if you weren't up to date with your shots. So that's why I wouldn't put it past them to either be wanting to develop such a system or already having such a system in development right now, I wouldn't put it past the folks in the government of Singapore. And again, there's no way for me to say if all this is true or not. It's just based on something that a little HR minion told me. And if you just use your imagination a little bit based on the experiences that you've lived in the past, and you don't have to have lived in Singapore, you just have to have lived in one of those countries. For example, back in 2021, where they were trying to force you to get an app so you could scan that app in order to enter a restaurant, in order to go into a mall to buy something from the shops. You just have to use your imagination over here. If that was possible, what else could be possible in the future? That's it for today, and I hope you learned something. See you all in the next video. Goodbye. And by the way, I made this video because I wanted to make a little even more spicy video, a spicier ass video. But there's a prop that I want to use in that video that is currently on the hanger outside. It's not dry yet, so when it's dry, I'll bring that prop in and I'll make that next video. And you should stay tuned for that one, because if you thought this video was a bit spicy, you want to watch out for the next video because it's going to be spicier.